So, welcome to this episode of the Willingdon on Mission podcast. My name is John, one of the pastors at Willingdon, and today we have the opportunity to hear from Kevin and Barb Kubasik. Hi, Kevin and Barb.
Hi.
Hi, good to see you
Th-
again.
This is the second episode of four episodes where we get to know more about Kevin and Barb and their ministry and talk about some things related to ministry. So today we're going to talk about prayer. And I know, Kevin and Barb, that a big part of your ministry is praying with and for missionaries around the world, but also mobilizing or encouraging people to engage in prayer for global mission and for missionaries and for nations and that sort of thing. So, can you just tell us, why is prayer important?
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty passionate about prayer, and it's just a part of the great commandments, right? To love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and love others as yourself. And when you pray, you're entering into that deepening relationship with God. It's about praying, coming alongside others, lifting up their burdens. And so it's just all about relationship with God, arms open wide to us in love, and also saying, hey, come join me in what I'm doing. And so the God of the universe is wanting to partner with us. We get to partner with him, and that's part of what prayer is doing. That's part of it's confession and crying out, and you see it throughout the Bible. And another part, and you see even Jesus, he gives us the great modeling of there's lots of different scriptures on praying, and even in the garden when he was there, him praying to the Father and crying out and even saying, take this from me. And the disciples there, and even seeing how hard it is to pray, because they're right there with him and can see he's in agony and falling asleep, and just so there's a discipline to it also. And it's just an integral part of our relationship of talking with God, and listening to God, being still, which is really hard, I think, for a lot of us, with there so many distractions around right now. And I remember teaching in GEMS. It's like for grade twos and up. And so I had this bunch of girls, and I remember saying to them, your prayers are heard just as much as your parents. So you don't have to wait till you're older to pray, because praying is for everyone, everywhere, no matter what your age. And seeing like their faces light up when they could see that my prayers are, God hears me, and my prayers are just as important as adults. And so we prayed for missionaries, and there are some powerful praying kids there. And so just igniting that, not just with kids, but in the congregation as believers in churches and throughout Canada, to say your prayers make a difference. We don't always know why God doesn't just do things, but he chooses us to invite us in and to partner with him. And I remember really earlier on as a believer, there was a speaker, and she had said, I really challenge all of you to pray for the person every Sunday that sits beside you. And so at the beginning, it was really intimidating, like, hi, my name's Barb.
Mhm.
But something Kevin and I have done now for the past like 25 years or so. And it's powerful. I just put a reminder, a little card on our dinner table, and we pray for that person all through the week. So there's 7 days of prayer. And just imagine if we were all doing that for each other. And I challenge everyone listening to start doing that. It's a bit uncomfortable at first, but just really neat to see what the Lord's doing, or just praying. I do get distracted, so I'll set an alarm to pray for, missionary kids every week, or some young adults who are going through a hard time. And yeah, so I think there's just so many great, great things that are done through prayer that sometimes when we can share what's happening and sometimes see the results, whether that's not always the greatest results we want or what we're hoping for, but we see God move and it just deepens our relationship with him.
Mhm. Thank you. Thanks for the challenge to pray for the people that we're sitting beside. I like that.
Yeah.
Good. So what have you seen God do? Like, give us a couple of stories. What have you seen God do as you've prayed or as you've encouraged people to pray?
Well, with us, with the prayer calendar, sometimes you're praying for someone for a long time. We don't give their actual names, but like the story of Ali. So we've been praying for Ali's family for about 4 years. So I connected with the workers that are in North Africa, and I said, "Is there anyone you want us to be praying for?" And they said, "Yes, we'd really like you to pray for Ali and his family." And they're not believers. We've started conversations. They're kind of busy with life, but the Lord keeps putting them on our heart, and they're in our lives. And so now, 4 years later, for all these different things that have been happening, and you can see it was interest was getting more and more. Well, Ali doesn't leave his house unless he reads the Bible every day,
Oh,
and he's handing out New Testaments now, and he's not a believer yet.
hmm,
So following along that progress and knowing that all these people, like there's over 100 people praying for him, and look what the Lord has done, and I know Kevin has a story from so
Yeah, we had this one guy, Laird in his name, and he came to our youth group and he wanted to learn English because, get a better job and we all spoke English, so he could practice his English with us. And he was in my English class, and we had our prayer calendar we send out every month and prayer letter, and we had people praying for him. And he was in my English class, and one day he saw me on the street, said, "Hey, Kevin, I want to tell you something." I said, "Okay, what's up?" And he said, "Well, don't bother praying for me. Don't bother sharing with me. I'm a Muslim now. I'm never going to stop being a Muslim. Do you understand?" I
hmm,
said, "Sure." So, but he kept coming to our youth group, and he'd plug his ears sometimes. And when we had the Bible sharing time, and then he was in my English class, and then we had the people praying for all the Muslims in my English class, and we were doing the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and he said, "Kevin, this is driving me nuts. What is the lion, this Aslan? Why does he have to die?" And I said, "Well, you got to figure that out yourself, right?" So we continued to minister to him and share, and then he was sitting at home one day, and he was doing it at an advanced level of English again, and they're reading about the book again, and he said, "Oh, I finally figured out who Aslan was. He's Jesus, and he died for my sins." And he said, "Yeah, now, and then he went to the English class and said, I believe it." And now he's been involved in ministry for at least 10 years, and he married a Christian woman, and he's going on with the Lord. And it's really exciting to see that, the wheat, about of wheat, and he's ministering all over now.
yeah. And
awesome.
even with like other believers, there was a lady in Southeast Asia, and so she was a believer when we started praying for her, but she was a widow and she was illiterate, and she got an MP3 player that talked about scripture, and so there was like no church around her, no believers around her. And when she'd become a believer because some of her family had been healed by the Lord when they had gone to connect with some believers somewhere else. And so we started praying for her, and she gave her MP3 player to her, I think, daughter and son, because they were like, "What are you doing?" And they became believers. And then she continued to, just had a passion for sharing God. and for who he was. And she was just so excited. And she used the MP3 player because it would ask her questions. And so now, as we've been praying for her, so it's been about 3 years, I think, and she's baptized people. She started, I think it's about 16 groups. I think 2 home churches have started. She is a prayer coordinator for her area. All this, like, look what God has done. And people were a part of that. They're like on her team as a sister way over there. And she's so thankful for everyone. Like, she's just so thankful. And it's great. It's great to see. She knows the power of prayer. And she asked, can you, when you go on this, will you please ask people to keep praying? Because it's really difficult here to be a believer. So yeah. So it's just
awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you. That brings us to the end of this particular episode, except for I want to give one invitation, maybe 2 invitations to those of you who are watching and listening. The first is I invite you to take up Barb's challenge, Kevin and Barb's challenge of pray for the person beside you at church. Great challenge. What a good idea. And the second is this invitation. So Kevin has been one of the key leaders for a good long time now of a weekly prayer meeting that we have on Sundays we call it Global Mission Prayer. It used to be called Global Hotspots, and it's a group that meets at church every Sunday morning at 10, and there's space for you, any of you who are watching, to come and join. You don't need to sign up, just show up. And Kevin and another guy alternate leading it, and just, it's an opportunity to pray for our missionaries really specifically. So I invite you to come. So anyway, thanks Kevin and Barb for giving us this glimpse into prayer and some stories of how God's worked through prayer. And those of you who are watching, I invite you to stay tuned for the 3rd episode of this 4-episode series. God bless you all.
All right. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of it.